It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin tonight with Dan DeFaw. Before we get started, we want to help you save some money.
That's right, folks. Don't forget to use our promo codes to save that money. And let's start off with buckbaits.com. That's right, the brick and mortar store of Buck Baits down at Sterling Heights, Michigan at 15 and Dodge Park. Go over there. If you're on the website, buckbaits.com, use the promo code UNJ20. That will get you 20% off your order.
For those of you who are looking for Easy Cut products, make sure you go to easycutproducts.com. And when you're there, use the UNJ promo code UNJ15 off to save 15% off your order.
And let's not forget Lincoln Roan over at packermax.com. It's never too early, never too late to think about the Packer Max. Go on over to packermax.com, use the promo code UNJ25. That'll get you $25 off your order over at Packer Max Outdoor.
For those of you looking for some new firearms and firearm products, make sure you go over to the islandarmory.com. While you're there shopping, use the promo code UNJ10 to save 10% off your order there.
If you shot that bird of a lifetime and you want it mounted, don't forget Troublesome Creek Taxidermy. We've had them live on the show. We've talked to them. You want to get 10% off your order, go to Facebook, go to troublesome.creek.7, find their website. If you go to our website, UNJ, make sure to click on the button to download the form. You get 10% off over there using the code UNJ10.
Looking for that game call, whether it be a squirrel, whether it be goose, duck, deer, make sure you go to JPO Game Calls. Look for them at jpogamecalls.com, and while you're there shopping, use the UNJ10 promo code to save 10% off your order.
And Miller Deer Tracking, the man that seems to never sleep during deer season. Get 20% off your next deer tracking using the promo code UNJ20. Look for Miller Deer Tracking on Facebook or give him a call over at 810-240-4891.
Looking for the hottest new plastics to take on the water, whether it be hard water or soft water? Make sure you go over to southernindianabaitco.com. While there, use the UNJ promo code UNJ10 to save 10% off your order.
Deer Camp Coffee, folks. We drink it every night on the show. You want to try it? You can go to the brick and mortar store at 15 and Dodge Park at Deer Camp itself, or go to deercampcoffee.com. Also use our promo code UNJ10. You get 10% off your order. And don't forget, get a bag of the UNJ medium roast blend there as well.
All right, Danny, where's our live view camera to look from tonight?
That's right, folks. We are going all the way over to the Western UP in Wakefield Township to the Snow Chasers Lodge. That's right, folks. They got snowmobiling, they got snow, and it's 29 degrees.
I see icicles, cars, and trucks and trailers. It looks like we're in the middle of a parking lot in the middle of a blizzard, Danny.
It's the Western UP. What do you want?
Oh, that's right.
It's snow.
Yeah, it's like right next to the North Pole in Santa Claus, right?
Pretty much the end of the UP, and then you fall off into Minnesota.
All right. Well, welcome back. Another episode of the Up North Journal. Everybody, host Mike Adams, sitting in a cabin tonight with Dan DeFaw. It's been a couple of weeks, but we had Christmas, and we just thought it'd be good to take some time off with the family. But we're back for our last episode of the year here in 2022. You have a good Christmas?
It was a great Christmas. We had that blizzard there for a little bit, and now all of a sudden it's going to be like 50 tomorrow.
Yeah, I know.
Welcome to Michigan, right?
Well, they're already searching for somebody out off the Quantico right now in the Saginaw Bay. They left their gear out there. They don't know if they went through the ice or if they got off before the ice broke away. So
anybody talk to Adam?
He's actually on tonight.
Oh, good.
So
all right,
it's not him, but thoughts and prayers for the people out there.
Absolutely.
If they're missing, it's a bad deal. But the ice is not safe yet. Stay on.
Oh, heck no.
So,
especially out there, right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we tell everybody. That you hear the first ice is best ice.
Yeah.
Well, it's also good to come home. So.
Exactly. So, well, we got a good show tonight. We got some Michigan legislation that's being looked at that we thought we need to get somebody on to talk about.
We've had the elections, the new legislation. The new legislature is going to kick off next year in January.
Yeah.
So Democrats have control. So what's going to end up happening.
Yeah.
So
I hope it doesn't happen, but
they're going to push, right? So we thought we'd get somebody on, professional speaking, a firearms lawyer, and of course we got to have the Island Armory on, Natalie and Jason, because they're just good to have on.
That's right. So We got Jim Makowski, firearms lawyer, and we also got Nail and Jason on tonight. Guys, gals, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me on.
Everybody have a good Christmas, I hope. Yes, no, maybe so. Nobody's saying anything. Come on, can't get you done tonight?
Come on, Santa didn't leave coal in your guys' stocking now, did he?
Yeah, we got kids, so it's chaos for Christmas.
There's nothing better than chaos, because there's one day you're going to be sitting there going,
I know.
I miss the chaos.
Just hanging out with this guy, wishing the kids were still around. I know. I get it.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, exactly.
So,
And no one got me a staccato, so.
Oh,
well, we got everybody on tonight. Basically, the thing that really prompted this whole discussion tonight, what we're going to start with anyway, is House Bill 6544 here in the state of Michigan.
Absolutely, and I was talking with Jason and Natalie, and we talked about this. If you haven't subscribed to the Island Armory newsletter, you get it, and they send out emails to you, and she had a link to this legislation coming up, and I was like, wow. So I happened to be at the Island Armory this past couple weeks, and I was talking to them, and we thought, you know what, let's talk about it before it might happen. We don't know what's going to happen, but we thought we'd get the lawyer on himself, and that way we're not doing anything bad. We're not disinformation police are going to jump on us, right? So, but what better way to find out more information?
Well, to kind of kick it off here, either one of you want to jump in? I mean, the gist of this bill, what they're proposing, just kind of summarize it and let us know what we're looking at? Either one of you want to jump in?
I'm
Sure.
gonna take it. Let the lawyer do the talking, right?
Okay.
Sure. So HB 6544 is an assault weapons ban. They're defining, they've got a definition for an assault weapon. Basically anything with a pistol grip or a thumb hole stock, detachable magazines. The proposed legislation, if it went through, would say that after January 1st of 2024, no one could manufacture, possess, purchase, or sell an assault weapon in the state. They'd have to be registered. They could continue to own them if they registered them with the state police, and would have to continue that registration every 5 years. And it'd be a 5-year felony to possess an assault weapon under their definition without registration. It was introduced by a lame duck state representative. Frankly, I don't see this one going anywhere. It's possible. I could be wrong. I've been wrong more than once or twice in my life. but I don't expect this one to go very far. I think this one's too radical, and if this one were to be enacted, there would be an immediate challenge in the courts. Unfortunately, the Michigan court system is leaning progressively left each year. So, we're a little reluctant to have to litigate in Michigan courts, but we're looking at federal venues if we can establish federal jurisdiction. But we're looking, keeping an eye on what's going on and ready to jump in when we can to stop the gun grabbers and whatnot.
Gotcha. Before we go too much further here, Jim, just give us a little bit of your background and the credibility that you bring to the table on this kind of stuff here. I mean, you told us before the show you've got 22 years of experience at litigating firearms law. Is that correct?
That's correct. I've been practicing law since 2001, so this will be 22 years coming up real shortly here. I have handled criminal defense with regard to firearms law for almost that whole time. I've done a lot of Second Amendment litigation, gone to the Michigan Supreme Court on a couple of Second Amendment cases, had several cases that have brought national attention regarding firearms rights and firearms law and people being wrongfully charged. I am the lead counsel for Michigan for United States Concealed Carry Association, and I wrote the USCCA Concealed Pistol Licensing Program for Michigan. So I know a little bit.
It's not your first rodeo.
Maybe not.
and I'm quite sure it will not be your last as well. So,
God willing.
there you go. So, with that being said, kind of looking over this House bill, from what I kind of got out of it and looked at and heard, can't believe everything you always hear, but it seems to kind of follow along with what they're trying to do on a national level too. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's patterned closely after what they're proposing at the federal level. I think that at the federal level, thankfully, we've had a change in Congress, in the House. I don't think they're going to get very far at the federal level, but they're trying to do it here in Michigan. For sure.
Okay. So looking at it, you said that it's pretty abrasive of what they're trying to go after. You don't think it's going to gain a lot of traction? Hopefully, with your experience, why would you say that?
So, yes, the Democrats hold a slim majority. However, I think that there are enough Democrats in the legislature who will see that this is just an overreach and that we can persuade to split off from the party on this issue. And if the legislature does enact something and we can't block in the legislature, then we'll resort to the courts.
Okay, and that'd be
because
go ahead.
Yeah, because New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin was the best U.S. Supreme Court case in the last 50 years, and we're going to be playing it to its fullest.
Okay, all right. Natalie and Jason, we haven't heard from you yet. Obviously you got a vested interest in this bill not becoming law as well, but just kind of give us a quick take from your side.
Well, our sales are going to be through the roof if it goes through.
I was just about to ask you, when something like this gets brought out in public or ends up on the news, do you see an uptick in your sales, like they're become the best salesman ever?
Yeah, every time they talk about banning, high capacity, or we call them standard capacity magazines. They like to call them high capacity magazines. Every time they want to try to ban those, people are out buying magazines like crazy. This right now, people are buying, AR-15s like crazy. They're buying anything they think is going to get banned.
I've done a ton of CPL classes. People are afraid that, whatever's going to happen with the rest of this stuff, that if, the rules change with that, they want to get their CPL now sooner than they can't, sooner than before they can't anymore.
Or they go ahead and they go ahead and they change and critique the CPL requirements or whatever they come up with in wanting to do, right?
Yeah. Well, just as an example, during COVID, people panic buy. No matter what the situation is, if it's something that they're afraid they're not going to be able to get it, we did a state lockdown, and the first 3 days of the lockdown, Jason and I sold every gun we had on hand. It was insane 3 days. Since all this stuff's been coming out, he's right, we've been selling more ARs, we've had more people calling, asking us what we think is going to happen. I tell them, same thing I'm going to tell you guys. We're going to hope it doesn't go through, but if it does, you've got until 2024 to buy your AR if you want one.
Well, see, what I'm afraid of is you get something like this thrown out there, right? Like Jim said, it's probably not going to go anywhere. But all of a sudden, they start picking it apart and putting pieces of it into other bills, and they start slipping things through, and all of a sudden, before you know it, there's something passed that is like, whoa, where'd that come from? Our wonderful government seems to.
We got to pass the bill so we know what's in it.
Right, yeah, 4,000 page, bill, and we're going to pass it in 2 hours. But read it, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Tammy Delk has met Jim a couple of times at the Detroit Arms classes and events. And Linda Martin says he is the best of the best.
So if anybody out there has got questions through tonight's show, for those of you who may have not been on the Up North Journal and watched this before, in the chat, please put a question in. We will do our best to get those through and ask those of Jim or of Island Armory, of Natalie and Jason. So,
and
a lot of people are. I don't know if you guys want to talk. A lot of people are buying AR pistols right now and anything pistol related.
Okay.
There is upcoming we're hearing upcoming changes. The ATF decided to make a worksheet on what is an SBR and what is not an SBR. So people are kind of panic buying those a little bit right now.
For people who don't know what an SBR is, it's a short-barreled rifle. Can't use acronyms. Never mind.
Don't worry.
Grab that one.
Don't worry. It's the way of the world. Is
Any firearm with a barrel shorter than 16 inches that has a stock on it is considered an SBR. If it has a pistol brace on it, it's considered a pistol right now. Now, coming soon, that could be.
that could. You know what? Let's talk about that after the break. But before we go to break, anyone that has anything to talk about legal and about guns and wanted to get a hold of Jim, he does have a website for everybody, makowskilegal.com. Just go over there, give him a call. He'd be happy to talk to you about it. Anything you can scroll on his website, from CCW Defense, NFA Trust, Criminal Defense, and so on. So check out that website, and of course, go over to islandarmory.com. Check out their wonderful website. It changes daily. They've got inventory coming in and out of their business every day.
And just as you saw on our intro, use the UNJ promo code to help you out over there.
There you go.
All right, we're going to step outside. We're going to take our first break. We'll be right back after this. Okay. Let me save this off.
All right. Anybody out there want any questions? Throw them in the chat. We'll get them there, and then we'll talk about the pistol grip discussion in the next segment.
There you go.
Great.
Hang on one second here. Here we go. You're not going to play nice tonight. Okay, I
Of
see what's
course not.
going to happen. Let me send this into a quick reboot, and we'll just continue on. I'll snag it off later.
All right.
There we go. All right, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Second segment of the show. We've been talking about House Bill 6544, talking a little bit about SBRs, some of the legislation that could possibly come along. Before we jump into the pistol brace issue, looking back at this House bill, I mean, basically, the way I read this, a lot of people's basic shotgun or hunting rifle, pistol, would basically become illegal unless it's registered through this law if it becomes enacted. Is that right, Jim?
Yes, that's correct. It would have a tremendous impact on, every firearm owner in the state who has something that's manufactured after 1980. Really.
Okay. So you're looking at even like maybe a shotgun with a thumb hole stock, a turkey gun.
Anything like that, anything with a pistol grip on it, anything like that could be considered illegal under this proposed legislation.
Exactly. I got a turkey gun that's got a pistol grip, and then I got another gun that's got a thumb hole.
Yeah, and I've got a 270 Winchester rifle that has a thumb hole stock and a detachable magazine. So
that would be an assault weapon under this legislation.
And it's a hunting rifle. I mean, it just blows my mind some of what they deem. To me, an assault weapon is anything you put in your hand, you hit somebody with, or take their life with. That's an assault weapon. Baseball bat, a hammer, a knife, whatever. Anything you can pick up, fire extinguisher, and throw it at somebody. So
it's feel-good legislation. It's designed to make people feel good, and it's not going to do anything to stop violent crime.
Oh, absolutely. What's a folding or a telescoping stock going to do?
Exactly.
Nothing.
I work in the media, in the news industry, and that's one thing we do these stories, and it talks about, this is going to make everybody feel safer. I go, well, what good does feeling safe do if you're not actually safe? There's a difference in feeling safe and feel, like you said, feel good. It's a feel good thing, and instead it's taken law-abiding citizens and turned them into criminals. And I gotta imagine too, they talked about the existing ones that you already have, that you're going to have to register those every 5 years. Is that a money grab as well?
Oh, probably.
And who knows what they're going to put on that? They could price it right out of the existence of other people, or people actually registering them and being able to keep them. So
this is why we're going to have to resort. We might have to resort to the courts
Exactly. That's I get a feeling that's where something's going to happen in the next 2 years. That's where it's going to end up in the state. But you just look at some of this legislation, and it says here you got to register the assault weapon with the Department of State Police. You got to renew the registration every 5 years, or like you said, you could end up in jail for 5 years with a felony. Well,
it's absurd.
Right, exactly.
It's a statewide gun registry at that point. And everybody knows what the fear of that is once they know who's got them, what they've got, and where they're at, it makes it a lot easier for later on if there is a reason to come take those.
The logical next step from registration is confiscation.
There you go.
And Jason and Natalie, you guys on the end of selling guns and pistols and ammo and everything, I'm sure you're getting inundated with phone calls of little things, blurbs that people hear of just asking you what's going on. Are we going to be able to buy it? Taking your CPL class was great. Natalie, you said it best. A CPL class is basically you look through all the information you gave us. It's common sense. Some of this stuff doesn't seem as common sense, but like I said, you must be getting phone calls left and right when some of this stuff hits the news.
Well, it's just criminals wanting to do the right thing and telling us that they're going to definitely register their weapons if this comes through, right? Isn't that the whole point of this?
Right.
Well, it's well, it's like that. The deer see the no crossing sign, right?
Yeah. Come on, guys.
We do have a question for anybody that wants to jump in here. Are they doing any laws about air-powered rifles? I have heard that they can be pretty powerful. Do we know of anything out there about that?
Well, a couple years ago, the air rifles were specifically excluded from the definition of a firearm. And yeah, there are some really powerful air rifles now capable of taking a deer, but they are not considered a firearm under Michigan law. So, nothing so far.
Not at this time.
Coming soon.
The ATF doesn't look at them as firearms either, so.
Okay. Well, for now, right?
Yeah, for now.
Until they figure out a way to get money. Then they'll definitely figure out how to do that. Tammy Delk, you've got some great advice. Never take legal advice from friends, family, or social media unless you want to. Unless you should call Jim and defend you in court.
Well, Jim, actually, we were talking about that before the show started, and you said a lot of the cases you have are people thinking that they're doing the right thing and actually are breaking the law without really knowing it.
I have defended so many people who they think they're in full compliance with the law and they miss one critical step and then they get charged with a 5-year felony, or they forget to renew their CPL. I had a guy a few years ago, he forgot to renew his CPL because his wife was bedridden with a problem pregnancy, got pulled over for allegedly rolling a stop sign, got charged with a 5-year felony because his CPL was expired, and the prosecutor refused to give him a deal. So this upstanding 38-year-old guy, member of his church's security team, is now a convicted felon.
Which in turn means you cannot possess a firearm.
Correct. And I actually brought him before the Michigan Senate a couple years ago to testify, begging for a change in the law with regard to this, and that fell on deaf ears.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so that gives. I have a question then. When your CPL is coming due after 5 years, is there any grace period, or if it ends on the 31st of the month, the day after, it's fully expired? You don't, is that?
There is no grace period whatsoever.
So you must put in before it expires to make sure in time that it renews before that date.
Sure, and one of the other things too is under the latest changes to the law that were probably 5 or 6 years ago now, the county clerk is supposed to mail out a renewal notice approximately 6 months prior to the expiration of your CPL. The problem is they mail that renewal notice out to the address that is on file for when you applied for your CPL. They don't track it with the Michigan Secretary of State for their driver's licenses. So if you've moved in the last 5 years, you're not going to get a notice.
That's me.
And
I've already done that. That's the first thing I did.
and why they can't coordinate with the driver's license database is beyond me. I don't understand that. But don't count on getting a renewal notice as your reminder. Go in your phone. Everyone's got a phone with a calendar now. Program in 6 months before your birth date. Renew my CPL. At that point, your 5-year point.
And then put the reminder to happen every single day thereafter until you renew it and then erase it, so you don't miss it. But that's a great point, because I've moved. It'll be 2 years in July. In April. And one of the first things I did was contact the county here and find out exactly the procedure I had to go through. I was like, I need a change of address. How's this going to affect me? Does it affect me now? Does it affect me when I renew? And our county clerk was really good, and she walked me through the whole thing and told me how to do it and how it was going to happen. So, Genesee County, thank you. That's one thing I guess we've done right here, is at least the person there behind the desk give me the proper information, and I've got it changed. But she also said to make sure, to have that reminder, like you had said, put it somewhere where you're going to know, and if you don't get that letter, within that first month of being when you're supposed to get it, contact them and get it done. You don't necessarily need to have that letter. You can still get it done without having that reminder sent to you, correct?
Correct. But it's easier if you have the letter, because usually there's a PIN code on there for online renewal.
Right.
But you can get that PIN code from the Michigan State Police to renew it online if you don't get that letter. But just make sure you renew it, because it's money for me when people, get charged with a felony for renewal, but it breaks my heart every time I have to take people's money to defend one of those cases.
Right. Yeah, it's just something it's easily forgotten if you don't think about it, that often. So,
well, that's the thing, right? It happened. It looks like it happened to Tammy Dowd. I know she moved, and they ended up she had to go track hers down, because I don't think they forwarded.
Yeah,
they didn't follow through, and it looks like Adam Wynn just renewed his, so he's good till 2027.
There you go.
So, stay on top of it, folks, because the day after it expired, it's expired. You don't want to end up being that guy that's got to call Jim.
I'll take it one step further. Everyone should reach into their wallet right now and check that expiration date. And I've said that to a lot of people, and I've had a few, people who say, "Oh no."
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, right? You got to stay on top of it.
It's funny you say that, but every time I get in my wallet, and for whatever reason I get my, if I'm at the store and I'm buying some adult beverages, and they want to take and put my birth date into their little computer thing there to make sure that I'm 21 years old, which I'm just over 21. But anyway, I always do. I look at that. Every single time I look at that date because I got it right underneath my driver's license, and I make doggone sure I know exactly when it's coming up, So that's a great point. Check it. Absolutely. So we were supposed to be talking about pistol braces.
Yeah, we were getting there.
We kind of got off the subject a little bit. So, you talked to Natalie and Jason about this when you were down there, right?
Yeah, they brought it up that they're even going after that, and then just before the show we talked to Jim a little bit about it, and we wanted to get his input on where he thinks this might go.
All right, whoever wants to jump in here, go right ahead.
Well, yeah, Jim can start, and then we'll give our 2 cents.
Okay.
Sure. So the ATF has just come out with a new set of rules redefining what they consider a pistol brace. And there's a 70-page document that came out with a worksheet that scores more than 40 different criteria to determine whether a pistol brace is actually a pistol brace, or if it's actually a stock, and then putting that on an AR pistol or whatnot would constitute creating an SBR, short-barreled rifle, which is obviously federally regulated. There's over 40 criteria, and each pistol brace that is being marketed right now you score it on that sheet, and then it tells you whether or not it is illegal or it's illegal. And there's a couple of them that are in gray areas, but there's a lot of popular braces out there that are now going to be considered an SBR. When the pistol brace first came out, yes, it was to help handicapped shooters, allegedly. I thought at the time they were pushing the envelope into creating a short-barreled rifle, but it passed ATF muster. Well, as we know, the ATF likes to change the playing field in midstream. They like to change. What's previously legal now becomes illegal, and in fairness, some of the braces that are out there have been pushing the envelope, but the bottom line is, I feel that unless you have something that is absolutely defined as a pistol break with clear ATF guidance, pistol brace, then you better count on it being a short-barreled rifle and get licensed accordingly.
Okay, so are we talking about aftermarket as well as, like, if I was to buy one at a firearm store and it was made, let's say, by 6 Hour, and it had a 6 Hour brace on it, should I be worried about something like that?
It all depends on which brace, and there are so many out there. I don't want to pick on any one particular manufacturer.
Sure.
But there are so many different criteria that go into whether or not it's going to be considered a stock or if it's considered a brace. And they even look at they also look at the weapon itself, the weight of the weapon, the length of the weapon, and then there's all sorts of different criteria. It's absurd.
So then, Jason and Natalie, how do you guys view it from a business owner standpoint?
Right now, we're not carrying any AR pistols in stock, so that tells you, kind of where we're looking at that. If someone wants one, we'll order one in or something like that for them. But we're only carrying rifles in stock or short barrel rifles. We're an NFA dealer, so we can handle the SBR process if it's something they buy from us. So those are all we're keeping in stock and stuff like that at the moment.
So for folks listening right now that might not have any idea what these guys are talking about, there's a process where you have to own a short-barreled rifle, which is a AR, which is under a 16-inch barrel, and then it's got a stock on it. So you pay $200 and you get your tax stamp. Very similar to the way you buy a suppressor. You submit your paperwork, $200 to good old Uncle Sam, and then you legally can own your gun. So what they're looking at is the same concept where it's the shorter barrel AR, but it's got a pistol brace on it. It's not official yet if it's going to be a payment process, if they're going to collect $200 a piece or not. But very soon it would be the same process where you would submit your paperwork. We're hearing they'd want you to take pictures of it to show them what you have, basically. And then you would, like Jim was talking about, the score sheet, which, might I add, Jason's very excited to see how many points he can get with one if this thing does go through. So we'll see how that goes. But you would do the same thing. You would submit your paperwork, and then with your pistol brace on the end, it would be part of this NFA process. And again, I mean, if it's going to be... At first, we thought it was a money grab. I mean, there's, 60 or 70 million pistol braces out there on the market, so $200 a pop, I mean, that's a pretty good payday for the government.
Are we talking you fill out your paperwork, you pay your, gosh, that's a ringing number, $200. Is it yeah, right? Is it immediate, or do you gotta do the waiting game again?
Gotta do the waiting game.
Yep.
All the NFA is a waiting game. Right now the ATF's claiming they're backed up with the NFA process. So last year, about this time, the ATF went live with electronic Form 4s. So we submit fingerprints electronically now. It used to be paper. And so now we do the whole process online. The ATF had promised that would speed things up. well, the ATF obviously didn't. It's not speeding. It's speeding things up a little bit right now. They're running about 9 months. We're seeing on average, but they're saying there was so many applications that they got backlogged. So that's part of the issue that we're seeing right now. But
So what is it going to look like if 60 or 70 million of these need to be registered the same way? Or, the Form 4 or Form 1, if you've created it, or whatever form they decide to call it for these, what's that going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's gonna, it's gonna happen. When this year started, you went electronically. The ATF did, and at one point when we were talking earlier in the year, it was taking about 77 days. You were guessing, on average, for a turnaround. But obviously something happened because it ended up taking 8 months, in general.
Yeah.
But like you said, at $200 a pop,
It's a lot of money.
it's a lot of money. Someone's gonna get pay raise.
Well, we're looking at
the
this.
bigger thing with this, I think, though, a lot of people carry AR pistols inside their vehicles.
Mhm.
If that now becomes an SBR, you no longer can keep that firearm loaded inside the vehicle with you. Jim can probably, do a little more to that, but it's no longer a pistol. It's a rifle. So the state of Michigan will look at it as a rifle as well. So those people that want to keep one loaded inside their vehicle with their arms reach for protection, whatever they might do, you know what I mean, that no longer could be able to do that. Also, SBRs, in order to travel outside of the state, requires ATF approval. You have to let the ATF know if you're going to be leaving the state with an SBR. You don't with a suppressor. Why, I don't know, but that's how the ATF is. So if you wanted to travel with one, you'd have to notify the ATF. They have a form you have to send in to them and stuff like that, notify them where you're going, how long you're going to be there, and that sort of stuff when you travel with those.
It'd be the same way if you moved out of state as well, I assume.
If you're moving out, if you're ever transporting a short-barreled rifle, short-barreled shotgun, AOW, or machine gun, transferable machine gun, you have to notify the feds at least 3 weeks in advance.
Okay. All right.
And don't go through Illinois, New York,
California. Right. Well, okay, so for the people who've got a brace right now, and they come up with this points system that Jason's going to win, and most points wins, I guess, according to Natalie. But seriously, though, on a serious note, let's say it doesn't pass muster and it becomes an SBR, and they've got this firearm in their home, and they now have to fill out this paperwork. Once you fill that out and send that in, what's going to happen with the firearm? I mean, does it stay in their possession? Does it have to be put in a lockup? Or if you don't pass the check, do they come get it? What happens at that point?
Well, that's a really interesting question, enforcement of this. I mean, as last time I heard, pistol braces are not tracked. The sale and transfers not. You can buy them anywhere. So how would they enforce it? It's not enforceable. Mm-hmm. It would be enforceable on new sales. What would they do? Presumably there'd be a time when they would grandfather it in, or not grandfather in, but there'd be an amnesty period to allow you to register them. And after that, if you failed to register during that amnesty period, then you'd be subject to a federal penalty. It would be a 5 or 10 year felony, depending on how it was charged.
Okay.
Probably 10 year.
All right.
Something like this, is this kind of going after what we talked about earlier, like a feel good thing?
I think so. I think I think short barrel rifles are great. I have several, registered. I have my tax stamps. I think the pistol braces are less great. Never been really impressed by them. That being said, they do have their uses, but are they going to deter someone with evil thought, evil process? Someone stop the next school shooting? I think not. It's feel-good legislation. All of this is.
Okay, well, Jason, let me ask you a question on this. So, if somebody has one and it doesn't pass muster, is there a way to take that off and put something else in place of it that would pass muster? Or, I got to imagine that. I mean, that's where the buffer tube and everything connect to the frame. So, I mean, walk us through that. How that would happen? What could you do?
The weight portion of it is going to get most AR-15s.
Okay.
The weight restriction. So anything. I mean, if you weigh an AR-15, even without a magazine, without anything, you're up there. And I do believe, I think last time I looked at it, Jim, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was like 6 or 8 pounds or something. I believe anything heavier than that, is going to be classified a rifle.
Yeah, I think so. Well, if it's a pistol, a AR that is less than 64 ounces is not even suitable for a brace, so that would automatically be discounted. If it's more than 64 ounces without the with the magazine unloaded and the accessories removed, then it becomes possibly eligible for a brace. The worksheet is so obscure, it's ridiculous.
Sounds like
most of these are, I mean, most of the stuff. I mean, people ask all the time, "Is this an SBR? Is it an AOW?" You know what I mean? People don't even know, and I can tell you, dealing with the ATF doesn't even know half the time. You know what I mean? They're completely clueless on a lot of this nonsense, and the ones you talk to, they stay nameless, but they don't want to enforce this nonsense either. I mean, they'd rather be out there going after actual criminals than turning someone into a criminal, which is exactly what this is doing. This is literally saying right now, your gun's legal, or your gun's illegal, but pay us $200 and it's legal.
Yeah.
right.
That is literally what it is, And are criminals going to go out and say, "Hey, I got all these now illegal, pistols in my car. I'm gonna all of a sudden register these"? They're not going to do that. You know what I mean? There's still going to be criminals out there breaking the law. Murder's still illegal. But we're going to put a bunch more nonsense in place to make law-abiding citizens criminals.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, and that's what it is.
It comes down to they're going after the fringe stuff when they should be looking into the mental health aspect of all this and going after that. It's kind of proven the point after our little COVID lockdown of what you can do to people mentally by locking them up and seeing what happens with that, right?
I'll tell you what, we're running a little bit long here on this, so we're going to take our next break. We come back, we'll continue the conversation and see what else we can get into.
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to step outside, take our next break. We'll be right back after this. All righty.
Is that 2 or 3?
That's 2.
Okay.
We've been talking a lot.
Yeah, this segment we were chasing some rabbits on, so.
We like to chase rabbits. It's rabbit season.
That's right. Duck season.
Hey, dude, we should talk about you doing our NFA trust. Well,
Yeah, what? I was going to bring that up. If we talked about it before you guys got on, and we're gonna definitely bring that up.
I've done thousands of them, literally, guys.
Right, exactly. So we're gonna.
Yeah, we have somebody we use, but I'd much rather use somebody local. So.
Yeah, we'll talk some more.
Okay.
Maybe I'll stop by your shop sometime this week.
Oh no! What can happen then?
Yeah, nothing good can come of this.
Right?
Well, okay, you don't have a Desert Tech MDRX in stock, do you?
Oh.
Thank you.
I say money's going to be exchanging hands.
I know, right?
He does. It's all right.
All right. Here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Third segment of the show.
Once again, folks, if you are listening to the podcast, which you've just got out of the commercial break, you heard all our commercials in the break, you got to go to Facebook Live and find out what we talk about in our breaks, because we're live on Facebook, or you can catch us on YouTube to catch the show when I repost it over there in a few days. But there's some things that happen in the break you're never going to hear on the podcast, so go check us out over there. And once again, we're talking with Jim Makowski. Go to Makowskilegal.com. He's definitely got the background to help you out if you need some criminal defense. Maybe you need some CPL, CCW defense. Maybe you need to talk about an NFA trust, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. And obviously with having Natalie and Jason on, make sure you go on over to the Island Armory. Go check out their swag, their ammo. They got guns. I was there a couple weeks ago. Check them out. Don't forget to use our promo code over there. Save yourself some money.
So you spent some money down at the shop, huh?
I did. Well, I spent money months ago in the shop. and it was one of those things that we talked about. You're right, Mark Coleman. I tell you what, it took me, April. And somebody told me in April it was only going to take 77 days.
It's the government, dude. Come on.
But, so that might have been a selling point. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. Yeah,
You
she's
wanted it either way.
right. You're right. But I finally got my tax stamp here just a couple weeks ago, and I was able to get my first suppressor.
Okay.
And I got a Dead Air Sandman, and I got it fully. I went through the whole process, fingerprinted, got my tax stamp, and what we wanted to talk to Jim about is an NFA trust dealing with these.
All right, so you went through the whole process. Yeah, you got a little bit left on the backside there. They didn't chew you too bad, I guess.
Yeah, right. No, but it was it was really simple.
Okay.
It was you picked it out, you bought it, but you went through the process, the fingerprinting. Natalie and Jay ran you through the whole process of the fingerprints.
And once you purchase it, Jason Naylor, you hung on to the piece until he brought the stamp to you, correct? That's the way that works?
But, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we shot the hell out of it for him and everything like that. So.
it was literally hot when they gave it to me. It was like, man. And,
Yeah, we put on a couple of full autos and really ran we ran the hell out of it.
Right, they said they test everything that they sell.
There you go.
Yeah.
Including
Just
the one
looking out for you.
Right, exactly, Jim. Just looking out for me. What a gang. And but yeah, it was real simple. It was basically you write the check, and then really it became a waiting game.
Right.
And that was in April.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, Nate was like, you know what, about 77 days. So I'm like, oh, okay. And it took till December, so it took about 8 months.
I got to imagine that's the backup for all the other stuff.
77 days. You know what I mean? That was we had him started to come back about that, and then whatever the hell,
I get it. We're dealing with the government, so I wasn't. It was like
14 months. That's what our last paper when we did. It took 14 months for the stamp to come back on it. So
right.
Hey, we are the government. We're here to help.
yeah.
They're there to help get rid of your money into their hands.
Right, exactly. So I'm going to put this on my AR, and I think we're going to end up going to go to the range.
When we going?
Whenever we get out there.
Okay, I'm game. Let's go.
But nope, I've been watching my little how to install these little bad boys, and
What are you going to put that on?
I have a 300 blackout.
Okay,
Yep. So
there you go.
I will put that on that, and maybe something other I'll find to buy.
We're gonna
Load with 220 grains.
Yeah, 300 blackout's great suppress, especially with the subsonic rounds. Super quiet.
I had the opportunity to shoot one time about 3-4 years ago. I was shooting a story for the TV station, and we did a little a segment for another unnamed firearms dealer here in the state of Michigan. And the guy that was there, he's like, "Do you want to shoot it?" And I went, "Duh." And we were on an indoor range, and I was completely blown away at how quiet it was on an indoor range. It really makes a huge difference. So, but talking about the trust, Danny, did you put yours in a trust?
No, I did not.
Okay, well, whoever wants to jump in here on this, let's talk about the trust and the reasons for, or maybe the reasons why you might not want to.
Didn't you want to?
Well, this is one of the things I specialize in. So there's 3 paths to own NFA weapons, suppressors, SPRs, what have you. You can buy them as an individual, you can buy them through a corporation or an LLC, or you can buy them through a trust. If you buy them as an individual, you are the only one who can ever possess it. You can't let your kids take it out to the deer blind. You can't let your friend borrow it. If you buy it through an LLC, or a corporation, anyone who's a member of that corporation can technically possess it. However, you've got annual reporting requirements, annual fees associated with setting up a corporation, and if you let that lapse, which all too many people do, then all of a sudden your LLC goes inactive, and then it gets dissolved, and then you're in possession of an illegal NFA weapon. If you do it through a trust, and you, as the trustee, can possess it. Anyone you name on the trust can possess it. You can put your best friend on there, let him take it out to deer camp, let him shoot his an 8-point with it. You can let your kids use them. You can let your extended family use them. It makes inheritance simpler too. When an individual dies, it's a tax-free transfer to an heir, but there's another background check that needs to be done. There's more fingerprints that need to be run. And this avoids all of that because the trust owns it, not the individual.
Okay, I gotcha.
I'm greedy. It's all me, all mine.
You don't want anybody else to touch it.
That's right. Get your dirty hands off it.
Well, I had a gentleman a few years ago who had that exact same attitude. He was an older guy, single. He bought a dozen suppressors, decided that you could bury him with them. He wasn't going to ever let anybody have them. Well, he ended up meeting the woman of his dreams. The woman had adult children, and all of a sudden he wants these kids to get these NFA, weapons, or get these suppressors, and we had to do 12 Form 4s from himself as an individual to the trust I created for him. So that was, the cost of the trust plus another 12 tax stamps at $200 a piece.
So you pay him again.
I wish I had his money.
Yeah, I got you.
And how much does a trust cost like that? Something to set that up?
Sure, I charge $400. You can get a trust online for $25. I've got nightmare stories about using those trusts. They'll accomplish a purchase. That's about it. But if you run into any legal difficulties down the road, it's a nightmare dealing with them. I had a client just recently had purchased NFA stuff on a single shot trust, and that person got into legal difficulties and couldn't possess the NFA weapons, and since it was the single shot, $25 trust, there was nobody who could legally take possession of it, and we were left with the alternative of calling the police or the ATF to take them for safekeeping, and good luck ever getting them back if you have to do that. We finally came up with a solution. A dealer took them in and listed them for repair, and that got them in safekeeping, and we were fine there. But that trust wasn't designed to handle the difficulties of life.
Gotcha.
If you will.
Right.
Tammy's got a great line. You get what you pay for.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Why, get somebody who's reputable. In this case, Jim's right here. Give him a phone call. Say, hey, need to take care of this. Be done with it.
Jim, the way I kind of look at what you just stated is, I kind of think of like that money as an added insurance policy in case you need it.
It gives you a lot more flexibility, a lot more options. And yes, it's an initial upfront cost. There's no additional fees later on, though. And it can alleviate some of the worries. One of the other things about the trust that I write, too, is you can put non-NFA firearms in there, rifles, pistols, and shotguns. Might that offer some legal protections down the road with new legislation that's out there, being proposed? Possibly. I don't know what is going to come out of all of these, changes that the Democrats are going to try to push, but it certainly offers you a level of protection that you don't have currently.
Okay.
Whether it's ultimately going to be helpful or not, I can't tell you, but certainly is better than what you have now, which is nothing.
Right.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
So down the road, I might have to do something, obviously.
Yeah. Just let me get my tax stamp and you go and give it to me.
Oh, I don't think so, Tim. No, that ain't happening, pal. You know how that works. And when we're talking about all this stuff and all these legalities, I kind of feel for Jay and Natalie what they got to go through as business owners with the gray areas that you're given from the ATF. Do you get these like bulletins and emails that things are changing, or how does that communicated to you guys?
Yes and no. So the ATF over the summer reclassified what they consider a receiver. So 80% receivers. The ATF did a PowerPoint presentation, something like this. The presentation was about as clear as mud, and the ATF agents that presented it weren't taking any questions because they didn't know how to answer them.
Wow.
That's literally how the ATF deals with those sort of situations. We do get bulletins. We got one yesterday. Now they're changing what they determine a receiver is again, it sounds like, after they've already made the rule. So previously the ATF said any 80% lower that's not milled, that comes with tools to mill it, is now a firearm and has to come to an FFL like us and be serialized. Now they're saying any 80% lower at all is now a firearm. That's what the rule they classify Tuesday. So we literally got a bulletin about that. So I don't know. To be honest, we don't even deal with 80% lowers because I don't want to have to serialize them. We don't want to serialize them. We don't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the ATF up our rear ends for something they can't even tell us what the hell's going on with.
Mm-hmm.
So, those sort of things we steer clear of. It's just, again, I don't want to, be trying to do the right thing and we do the wrong thing, because we don't know the right way to do it.
That's the thing I keep thinking about is people in your position that are a business owner trying to make money, make a living, and help people to do the right thing. You're constantly, the goalposts keep getting moved, not just further away, but all over the field. You think you got it in front of you, but all of a sudden they're behind you. Or, for goodness sakes, maybe even out in the dang parking lot. The way they're changing rules and things of this nature. So I really feel bad for people who are in the firearms industry that are trying to do the right thing and get hung up on something.
Yeah, the firearms industry is tough. We only have a few insurance companies that will insure us. There's only a few credit card processors that will do business with us. Not a lot of websites will do business with us. A lot of banks won't do business with us.
Can't advertise on
We
Google.
can't advertise on Google, Facebook.
Yeah.
They pulled our Amazon account. We were buying stuff on Amazon like office supplies, but because I had my Island Armory email address on there, they yanked our business account. And again, I was buying toner and paper for the office.
So your money's no good to them.
Yeah, they told me to use my personal account. So now we go local or find somebody else to do our business with.
What did that change, other than the fact you're using a personal account versus a business account?
No idea.
It's a feel-good thing.
We deal with a lot of people who call, like a couple weeks ago they changed it now where if you're 18 to 20 years old, you're automatically delayed if you come in to buy a rifle. We get a lot of backlash towards us,
mm-hmm.
like, well, why? Why can't I take my gun today? Why can't I do this, And we don't believe in it. We absolutely, if you've
mm-hmm.
never done anything wrong in your life and your background would typically have came back right away, like, your rights are being infringed upon. You should be able to have your firearm. We 100% agree with that. But
it happened when I was there, right? The gentleman came in with his son, and all he was doing was buying a .308 rifle
mm-hmm.
for a deer hunting gun, basically.
Right.
And he had to wait.
Right.
They extended his wait. It took 14 days. The kid, granted, I don't know him personally to say yes or no, he did not have a juvenile criminal record or whatever.
Right.
But it took him 14 days to be able to come pick up the gun, and the kid swore up and down that he had nothing on his record. They're running about that right now, 10 to 14 days, it seems like, before these kids are getting, the ability to come pick up their rifles.
Now, I completely forgot about that, but that was pushed through this last big gun legislation that passed. That was in that bill, correct? The 18 to 20. So you can sign up for the military. They can give you a fully automatic firearm to go out and hit the battlefield with, train you how to use it. But when you come back home and you want to buy a pistol for self-protection or a shotgun or a rifle, you have to wait.
You should have bazooka.
Yeah.
At 18.
18 to 21 can't buy pistols.
No,
You can't buy a pistol.
No, that's right. That's right. You
can't
can't
buy a handgun from a federally licensed FFL. So.
Right. But again, you go in the military, they give you all these little fun things to play with, and you just want to come home and go deer hunting, and you gotta wait.
Well,
it's one of those things. And Jim, on your side, 2 questions.
Why don't you hold those? Let's take a last break. We come back. We'll pick them questions.
All right, cool.
All right, we'll get that out of the way. We're going to step outside, take our next break. We'll be right back after this.
All right, folks. Last break we're going to go into. We got a couple questions for Jim. And then, of course, we'll turn it loose and throw some fun questions around, see what we can get into.
All right, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back, last segment of the show. We're going to take a few questions here and wrap it up for everybody because it's getting a little bit late.
Yep. First question for Jim. The trusts we were talking about in the last segment, are those good in any state, Michigan only? Can you write those for other states?
Sure, it's good. Mine are written to comply with Michigan law, but it can be used anywhere. If it's as long as it's legal where in the state in which it was created, you can be moved. It can be transferred to another state. I've got a lot of people who, they establish their trust in Michigan and then they moved to Colorado, Ohio, Florida, and the trust still was valid.
So the question would be, the question was coming from Mark, who is in Indiana.
So, the answer is no, because I'm not licensed to practice law in Indiana.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
So he would have to find an attorney in Indiana to write it for him.
Yes.
Okay.
But don't use those online $25 trusts. It's a nightmare.
So the moral of the story, I think we want to is exactly on that. If it's nice and cheap, you're going to get, like Tammy said, you're going to get what you paid for. You're going to run into some problems. Spend a little extra money, get a reputable person, and get that trust written correctly. The other question I wanted to ask you was, how do you find out law changes like ATF rules and stuff? How does that get cast down to you as a lawyer?
I subscribe to a lot of different newsletters, online updates. I find out, plus I know a lot of people, a lot of dealers will contact me and let me know when something's coming up or if they're having a problem with the ATF. I've got my finger pretty well on the pulse of what's going on.
Okay. If you write a trust, let me see how this question is. If the girlfriend is named and then she marries and has a last name change, are there additional charges to update the name?
No, that's just a simple amendment to the trust. It's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
I give you tools to amend the trust on your own without paying an attorney in the future. And if I have to do the amendment, I usually charge, but frankly, I don't want to do that. I'll send you the blank forms to do it, and if you send them back to me, hey, does this look right? I'll tell you yes or no. I'm not looking to make ongoing money doing that. I'm just trying to help out people and give them those tools to do it on their own.
Well, you definitely got your hands full with other things we were talking about prior to the show about the machine gun thing. It just popped up yesterday for you, and
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can talk a little bit. I've got a client who has a manufacturing FFL SOT, which for the listeners gives him the right, the ability to manufacture firearms and machine guns. He had an FFL in Macomb County, and he bought some parts allegedly that were sourced from Russia, and they were parts that would require a lot of additional work and machining. But once that additional work and machining was done, then those could be installed in a firearm and it would become a machine gun. But the ATF is classifying this collection of metal bits and pieces that are not assembled into anything, that couldn't be just dropped into a firearm. They're classifying those as firearms and as machine guns. So it's a huge case of overreach, and I'm looking forward to defending it in federal court. I just walked him in to federal court yesterday. It's been on the local and national news cycle in the last 24 hours.
So we're going to have to pay attention and watch that case go forward.
we're going to say, I know that guy.
Yeah, right.
Right?
So basically, in a nutshell, a piece of metal becomes a firearm according to them, to the ATF.
According to the ATF, this innocuous piece of metal is now a machine gun. It's now a deadly weapon. And it's kind of funny because in 2012, there was a ATF guidance letter that came out that said these pieces of metal are not regulated. They're not machine guns. But fast forward 10 years, and presto changeo, the ATF has changed law, changed the rules, and now they're considered contraband.
Okay.
either of you may know the answer to this question, you may not, but the ATF, like the people who are coming up with these decisions, are these people appointed by the current administration, and the next administration then appoints people? How does that work, or does that even go into it? Or do you know?
So
I'm just wondering how deep they get their fingers into this and appoint people to say, hey, I want this changed, and start coming up with some rules.
So obviously, the head of the ATF is appointed, has to go through, congressional approval. I think that we've all heard horror stories on the news about ATF overreach. There are certain field offices across the country where it's a huge problem, and there are certain field offices that it's not a problem, where there's the agents, the local field office is a little more reasonable. In my client, this investigation did not come out of the Detroit field office. It came out of another field office, and if the Detroit field office would have investigated this, would they have prosecuted this? I don't know.
Okay.
So it's even comes down to where it happens.
Right.
So it's that one office is different. There's no consistency between offices.
Right. Well, we've got one more question here I'm going to ask you from one of our listeners, and then we'll wrap up the show because we're running a little bit long tonight, and I don't want to keep you all. And I got to work tomorrow morning. So, the number one reason, what would you suggest to somebody would be the number one reason somebody should have a trust for either a firearms or a NFA item? Sure.
I would say the number one reason would be to have protections against seizures. You get arrested for drunk driving, for example. You've got suppressors, you've got a bunch of firearms, whatever. The judge makes an order that while you're out on bond, that you can't possess a firearm. You can't possess anything, firearms or ammunition. It happens in almost every case I defend.
Okay.
So if you don't have the NFA stuff in a trust, say you own a couple of SBRs, what are you going to do? You're going to let the police take them into safekeeping?
Right.
No, what you're going to do is you're going to let a trusted friend, family member, whatnot, who has a concealed pistol license for pistols, because we all know you can't possess a pistol that's not registered, that's unregistered to someone else unless you have a concealed pistol license.
Right.
But what you're going to do is you're going to have to give them to somebody else, and that someone else, if it's an NFA item, they can't possess it unless they're on a trust.
Okay.
There you go. And okay, so we typically have questions we ask our interviewees. We're going to cut those a little short, but for Jim, actually, I'm going to ask him to both of you, Natalie and Jason. When you both are at work, what is your go-to snack in that office when you're sitting working with each other?
If you can only have one, who wins?
Yes.
I don't know, probably Red Bull and chips.
Yeah.
There we go. See?
Yeah,
Look at that.
we're both Red Bull drinkers, so.
Snacks don't last long around there. I don't know if you've seen our little helper.
Yeah,
but
we
we've
have our
got a
kids
6-year-old
that all- yeah.
that's usually there a lot.
Oh.
Snack.
Oh yeah,
She
it doesn't last long with her. Around.
Grabs them all. Okay, Jim, what's your favorite snack? You've got the case. You've got a big case you're working on. Man, you got to have a snack. What are you going to have?
Fresh popped popcorn every day. Popped in oil, none of this air fryer stuff, air popper stuff. It's got to be popcorn popped from the popcorn maker.
The old style, the old
You
stovetop.
got a popcorn maker in your office.
It's been known to be there.
I knew it. I'm like, wait a minute. He knows too much exactly what he wants not to run out and have one of those old popcorn makers.
There you go. All right, so in the shop, if you guys are bitty bopping around, cleaning, doing whatever, and there's no customers in the store, what's on your radio? What are you listening to?
And no, the 6-year-old can't decide what station.
We usually stream Sirius XM, usually like country music. So something either Y2 Country or what's the other one, Highway or something like that.
Yep,
So
the Highway. Yep, there you go.
Jim, what
We're
kind of
fun.
Michigan? What music are you listening to as you debate that next case?
80s punk rock, 70s and 80s punk rock.
Wow,
Dead Kennedys, Ramones.
I would not have expected that.
No, I was just thinking
Very
the same
cool.
thing.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Ramones, all those guys.
All right.
See, I like it. There you go.
Popcorn and the Ramones.
At
Keep it
one
running.
point, I might have had purple and green hair a long time ago.
Oh my! Wow!
Maybe.
I,
No pictures still
I
exist.
was, I was just about to say until a picture shows up that's gonna be. Somebody says okay. So Ben Hall says and a cigar.
Well, yeah, we gotta have the cigar.
There you go.
There you go. So, you know what? It's one of those things. So, next time I go to the Island Armory, I think I know how to pay off the youngster. I'll just bring some cotton candy or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Here, kid.
That's right.
that's it.
Get them all sugared up.
And my big kid here likes the cigars too, Jim. So now that he heard that, you guys are gonna be real good buddies.
All right.
Oh,
George
man.
State's Cold Infusion.
Right? Ben Hall. Jim loves the Spartan fight song.
Oh, that's hateful.
So I take it you're a Michigan fan then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got you on the
yeah.
spot here right now. Prediction in their game coming up against TCU.
Score, I'm going to say 38-22. 21. 38-21.
38-20.
I think-
Okay.
I got Michigan all the way. We're going all the way. This is our year.
And I gotta imagine you want a rematch again up against Ohio State
No.
and put them down again.
Or
Or do you want Georgia?
I want Georgia. I don't want to give Ohio State any more wins. I want Georgia to smack them down.
Okay.
Yeah, I like
You
to
want-
see
you want
Ohio
the
State
rematch.
fans crying.
You want the rematch from last year against Georgia to say, it's one of those things. You already did it to Ohio State in November. You're done with them.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Beat down Georgia. Move on.
Well,
and go from there.
y'all gonna hate me. I'm a big Alabama fan, but I'm gonna root for my SEC team. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs next weekend.
Yeah.
After that, let's grind them under the Michigan boot.
Oh, there you go.
I think it's gonna be
Go Blue, guys.
It's gonna be a good couple weekends here. I think. So,
All right. So once again, everybody, in case you want to need some legal advice, get over to makowskilegal.com. Give him a shout. He'll help you out, whether you need it for criminal defense, CPL defense, or as we talked about today, NFA trust. Also, get on over to Island Armory. I took her CPL class. Actually, Jason did help out for a brief moment, but it was mainly Natalie that helped. Did the course. Was a great time being with her for the morning, for the day actually. Get over there, check out the website, use our promo code, and get some ammo. Go buy some guns, buy some swag. Check them out.
there you go. All right, we're gonna wrap up the show, folks. If y'all hang on, when we're done here, we'll chat briefly and we'll let you go. But for those of you out here listening on Facebook, go over to Island Armory's pages and follow them. Give them a like, follow, share, and do the same for us as well. Share the show. That helps us and helps people like them who support us.
And Jim, you got a Facebook page as well, correct?
I do. MakowskiLegal.com and Makowski Legal on Facebook.
There you go,
There
folks.
you go. Give
Get
them a
over
like,
there.
follow, share as well. And for those of you listening to the podcast, remember, if you're listening on iTunes, go over, give us a review. That helps us and helps people who support us, like Island Armory as well. So that's going to do it for this week. Next week,
I don't know yet. We might talk to Adam if he's around. Talk Sal that he was out on the ice.
Yeah.
Maybe get him on. Get
catch
some
up
ice
with
report.
his
Yep.
deer season and all
And
that.
then
too.
in 2 weeks, I don't know if we're going to do a show. I will be in Indiana.
Okay, that's right. You're going to be down for ATA.
Yep, with Mark
All right.
Coleman.
So stay tuned next week. Hopefully we got somebody lined up, and we'll be back same time Wednesday at 7:30, not 8 o'clock. Maybe, because my schedule has changed. I
We'll
will
just
say that.
see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll be
So,
back live next Wednesday.
all right, everybody take care, and we'll see y'all again next week.